We bought 5 of the most popular motor oils in America: conventional, synthetic blend, full synthetic, a high-mileage formula, and a bargain bottle off the bottom shelf. Then we ran every one of them the way your engine actually gets run: heat cycles, short trips, stretched intervals, the abuse a real commuter dishes out, and we kept going until the wear showed up. And then we did the part nobody wants to do. We opened the engines. 2 of them came out clean enough that I'd put my own car on them tomorrow. The rest told a different story, and the one that scored the worst isn't the cheap bottle you'd expect. It's a name almost everybody trusts. A name you've probably got sitting in your garage right now. I'll get to that one, but not yet, because if I just tell you the loser, you'll do what everybody does: you'll swap brands and feel safe and miss the actual lesson. The brand on the bottle is the smallest part of this. There's a number on the back of yours that matters 10 times more than the logo on the front, and almost nobody reads it. I'll come back to that. Here's what nobody tells you about motor oil. The label is marketing. The protection is chemistry. And those two things don't track each other the way you'd think. Let me explain how this even works, because once you understand it, the whole game changes. Every quart of oil is 2 things stacked together. There's the base oil, that's the bulk of it, the slippery part. And there's the additive package, a cocktail of maybe a dozen chemicals that do the actual hard work: anti-wear agents, detergents, dispersants, antioxidants, friction modifiers. The base oil is the road. The additives are the guardrails. And when an oil fails, it's almost never the base oil that quits first. It's the additive package burning off. Base oils come in groups. The industry literally numbers them. Group I and II are conventional, refined crude, cheap, fine for an old truck that gets changed every 3,000 miles. Group III is a heavily processed mineral oil that's so refined the government lets companies legally call it synthetic, even though it started as dino juice. Group IV is true synthetic, PAO, built molecule by molecule. Group V is the exotic stuff, esters, the additive's best friend. Here's where it gets interesting. 2 bottles can both say full synthetic in big gold letters and have completely different base oils inside. One's a premium Group IV, the other's a Group III that costs the blender half as much to make. Same words on the front, different engine 10 years from now. The dealer's not going to explain that to you. The kid at the parts counter doesn't know it either. So we tested oil the way oil actually gets tested, not by trusting the label, by measuring what comes out the other end. There are real tools for this. There's a test called NOACK volatility that heats oil to 482 degrees Fahrenheit and measures how much of it just evaporates. The more that boils off, the more your oil thickens up, the faster you're burning a quart between changes. There's used oil analysis. You send a sample to a lab like Blackstone, they run it through a spectrometer, and it tells you exactly how many parts per million of iron and aluminum and copper are floating in your oil. Iron means cam and cylinder wear. Aluminum means pistons. Copper means bearings. And then there's the part you can't fake, the teardown. You pull the valve cover, you drop the pan, you split the engine, and you look. Sludge doesn't lie. A scored cam lobe doesn't lie. A bearing that's worn through its overlay down to the copper doesn't lie. Whatever the marketing promised, the inside of the engine is the receipt. I spent 14 years in a shop in Ohio, and then years after that as an inspector, and I have stood over more opened engines than I can count. You start to see patterns. You start to see the same failures on the same kinds of oil over and over until you stop believing the bottle and start believing your eyes. So let's count them down, worst to best. And the worst one is going to surprise you, because it's wearing a halo it didn't earn. Let's start with number 5, the bargain bottle. The private label stuff, the no-name quart that runs you maybe $14 for 5 quarts when the brand names want 30. Now everybody assumes this is the killer. The garbage oil that grinds your engine to powder. And here's the twist that sets up everything else in this video. It wasn't the worst. Not even close. I'll tell you why. Modern bargain oil, the kind sold by the big box stores under their own label, still has to meet the same API certification as the expensive stuff. See that little donut symbol on the back, the API service symbol? If it says SP in the middle, that oil passed the same battery of engine tests as the premium bottle. Same anti-wear floor. Same detergency minimum. The certification is a legal line in the sand, and the cheap oil has to clear it just like the name brand. I watched a guy run store-brand synthetic in a 2016 Toyota Corolla for years. Changed it on schedule, every 5,000 miles, never stretched it. We pulled that engine apart at $198,000 because he was selling the car and curious. The cam lobes had a mirror finish. The crosshatch in the cylinders was still visible. That cheap oil, changed religiously, protected better than premium oil that somebody forgot about. So why is it number 5? 2 reasons, and they're real. First, the cheap stuff tends to use Group 2, or a low-grade Group 3 base, which means higher no-ACK volatility. It burns off faster, especially in a hot turbocharged engine, and that means more frequent top-offs and a shorter safe interval. Second, the additive package is built to the minimum, not beyond it. It hits the floor. It doesn't have a margin, and margin is what saves you the day you forget, the day you stretch the interval, the day life happens. If you change your oil on time, every time, the cheap synthetic is honestly fine. The problem is that almost nobody changes it on time, every time. So you're buying an oil with no safety net, and then walking the tightrope blindfolded. Do the math on that, and you'll see why it's not the bargain it looks like. What to do instead? If you're going to run budget oil, run it short. Treat the interval as half of what you'd use on premium. The money you saved on the bottle, you spend on changing it more often. And here's the step most people miss. Pull a sample once, send it to a lab for $30, and find out what your specific engine does to that specific oil. Your engine is the only test that matters. Everything else is somebody else's data. Number 4. Conventional oil. Straight up mineral oil, the stuff your grandfather used, still sitting on every shelf in America. This one's not a scam. It's a time machine. Conventional oil is exactly as good as it was in 1995, which is the problem, because your engine isn't from 1995. Let me draw you the picture. A 1995 engine ran loose tolerances, low compression, no turbo, a thermostat that opened around 180 degrees, and it spent its life with the oil running cool and slow. Conventional oil was built for that world, and it did the job. But the engine in your driveway right now runs tighter. It runs hotter on purpose. Modern engines hold oil temps higher to cut emissions and squeeze fuel economy. A lot of them run direct injection, which dumps raw fuel into the cylinder and washes some of it past the rings into the oil. And more of them are turbocharged, which means there's a turbo bearing spinning at 150,000 RPM, getting fed by your oil, glowing orange after you shut the car off. Conventional oil cooks under that. The base oil oxidizes, it reacts with oxygen and heat, and starts forming acids and varnish and eventually sludge. That's the brown lacquer you see baked onto the inside of a neglected engine. That's what kills oil galleries, what plugs up the little passages feeding your variable valve timing solenoids, what turns a smooth-running engine into one that rattles on cold start and throws a timing code. Here's the comparison that matters. Toyota and Honda both spec full synthetic on basically everything they build now, and they did it for a reason. Their engines run too hot and too tight for mineral oil to survive a modern interval. GM held on to conventional and blends longer on some of their pushrod V8s, the old-school architecture that runs cooler and more forgiving. Ford went hard to synthetic the second they went all in on EcoBoost turbos, because a turbo and conventional oil is a countdown clock. 3 manufacturers, 3 different timelines. One underlying truth: the hotter and tighter the engine, the less mineral oil can take. I pulled a valve cover on a 2013 Ford with the 1.6 EcoBoost once. Owner had been running conventional in it, dealer never corrected him, and the inside of that head looked like the bottom of a barbecue grill, caramelized. The turbo had already started to gurgle. That's a $1,400 turbo and a $200 oil passage cleaning that he paid for, because nobody told him the cheap blend on the shelf wasn't built for what was under his hood. Conventional's not evil. In an old naturally aspirated motor with a short interval, it's honest. Cheap protection. In a modern turbo direct injection engine run on a 7,500-mile interval, it's a slow-motion teardown. Match the oil to the engine, not to the price. Number 3. The synthetic blend. And this is where the marketing really earns its money, because this is the oil that's selling you a feeling. A blend is conventional oil with some synthetic mixed in. How much synthetic? The bottle won't tell you. There's no legal minimum. A blend can be 10% synthetic and 90% the same mineral oil that's in the cheap bottle, and it can charge you almost full synthetic money for it. You're paying premium for a splash. This isn't theory. This is how the category was designed. Blends exist to capture the customer who knows synthetic is better but flinches at the price. Give them a middle option. Charge a middle price. Deliver something closer to the bottom than the top. It's the same trick as the medium popcorn at the movies. The medium exists to make the large look reasonable. Now, in fairness, A good blend is a real step up from straight conventional. The synthetic fraction does raise the oxidation resistance, does lower the volatility a little, does buy you some margin. A guy with a 2010 Camry running a quality blend on a 5,000-mile interval is going to be fine for 250,000 miles. I've seen those engines come apart clean. But here's the step that nobody takes, and it's the whole ball game. Go price it out. In most stores, full synthetic costs maybe $8 to $12 more for a 5-quart jug than the blend. $8. Over an oil change you do 3 times a year, that's $24. For $24 a year you go from a mystery mix to a known quantity with real oxidation resistance, real low temperature flow, and a real safety margin. The blend isn't a bad oil. It's priced $2 under the thing that's worth $4 more. So why is it ahead of conventional and the bargain bottle? Because it does protect a modern engine adequately when it's changed on time, and because the synthetic content genuinely buys it oxidation resistance the conventional doesn't have. It's a real product doing a real job. It's just the wrong purchase 9 times out of 10. Skip the middle. Buy the full synthetic. The math has been against the blend since the day full synthetic dropped under $30 a jug. Number 2. Full synthetic. The good stuff. And this is one of the 2 that came out clean. When I say full synthetic protected the engine, I mean the crosshatch was intact. The bearings showed their original overlay, the cam lobes were unmarked, and the inside of the valve cover looked almost new even after we ran it long and hot. That's not luck. That's the chemistry doing exactly what it was built to do. Here's the mechanical reason synthetic wins, and it comes down to the molecules being all the same size. Conventional oil, because it's refined from crude, is a grab bag, molecules of every length and shape mixed together. The little ones evaporate easy. The big ones don't flow when it's cold. Synthetic is built uniform. Every molecule the same size, the same shape, engineered. That means it flows at 20 below like water, but doesn't thin out to nothing at 250 degrees. It doesn't boil off in the heat. It doesn't shear apart under the pressure of a cam lobe or a turbo bearing. Think of it like this. Conventional oil is a crowd of people of every age trying to get through a door, some sprint, some shuffle, it's chaos. Synthetic is a trained squad, every member the same, moving together, holding formation under load. When your engine spins up to redline, and the oil's getting hammered between 2 pieces of spinning steel, you want the squad, not the crowd. And here's the step a generic channel won't give you. Not all full synthetics are the same, and the difference is the base oil group I mentioned at the top. There's the GTL synthetics, gas to liquid, where they literally build the base oil out of natural gas, and it comes out almost contaminant-free. There's the PAO synthetics, the true Group 4, and there's the legally synthetic Group 3, which is real refined oil that's good, but isn't built from scratch the way the others are. All 3 can say full synthetic on the bottle. The way you tell them apart is the datasheet, the NOACK number and the pour point, not the marketing. A premium synthetic will post a NOACK under 10%. A cheaper one creeps up toward 13, 14. Lower is better. Lower means less of your oil leaving through the tailpipe. The 2 manufacturers I trust most on this have spent decades fighting over which base oil philosophy is better. And the honest answer is they're both excellent and the difference between them is smaller than the difference between either of them and a neglected interval. Which brings me right back to the thing I told you to remember. Because here's number 1, the worst performer in this whole test. And it's not the cheap oil, and it's not the conventional, and it's not even a specific brand at all. And that's exactly why almost nobody sees it coming. The worst oil in America is good oil left in too long. Stay with me, because this is the one that matters. The single most destructive thing I have ever found inside a failed engine wasn't a bad brand. It was a premium oil, the right oil, the expensive oil, the oil that trusted name on the bottle promised would protect, run twice as long as it should have been, because the marketing told the owner it could. Here's what happened across the whole industry, and it's the part they really don't want front and center. Sometime in the last 15 years, oil companies and automakers started a quiet arms race on intervals. The bottles started saying things like guaranteed for 20,000 miles. The automakers, chasing lower maintenance cost numbers to look good against the competition, started programming oil life monitors that let you go 10,000, sometimes 15,000 miles between changes. And the customer heard exactly what they wanted to hear. Better oil means I change it less. That's the lie. And it's a beautiful lie because it's built on a half-truth. Yes, premium synthetic can physically go longer than conventional. But, can the oil survive? And is your engine protected are two completely different questions, because the base oil might still be fine at 12,000 miles, and the additive package is dead. The detergents are spent. The anti-wear additives have plated out and run dry. The TBN, that's the oil's reserve of acid-fighting capacity, has dropped to nothing, and now the acids from combustion are eating at your bearings unbuffered. The oil looks fine on the dipstick. It's poison. I'll show you what that does. We ran a premium full synthetic, a genuinely excellent oil, one of the best on the shelf, out to a stretched interval, the kind the Oil Life Monitor blesses and the bottle encourages. And when we opened it up, the bearings were polished down past their overlay. There was varnish on the pistons. The oil that started as the best oil in the test had turned, in the back half of its life, into an acidic, additive-depleted sludge that did more measurable damage than the cheap oil changed on time. The best oil, misused, lost to the worst oil, respected. That's the whole video in one sentence. It's not the brand, it's the interval. This isn't some fringe finding. Send any high-mileage engine's oil to Blackstone after a 10,000-mile run and watch the TBN come back near zero and the wear metals climb. The labs see it constantly. The engineers know it. The reason your owner's manual and your Oil Life Monitor say what they say isn't pure science. It's a number that balances engine protection against the marketing department's desire to advertise low maintenance costs. The interval that protects your engine and the interval that sells your car are not the same number, and the manufacturer picked the one that sells the car. Think about who profits from a long interval. The automaker advertises cheaper maintenance and sells more cars. The oil company sells you premium oil at a premium price, and you feel like you got a deal because you buy it half as often. The only person who loses is you, 10 years and 60,000 neglected miles later, when the bearings let go and you're staring at a $4,000 short block on a car worth $7,000. Nobody in that chain was looking out for your engine. They were looking out for the sale. So what's the actual move? Here's the step that's worth more than every brand recommendation in this video combined. Take whatever interval your Oil Life Monitor or your manual tells you, and cut it. If it says 10,000, do 6,000. If it says 7,500, do 5,000. The marginal cost is one extra oil change a year, maybe $60. The marginal benefit is that your additive package never runs dry, your TBN never hits zero, and your bearings live to see 300,000 miles. $60 a year to never have this conversation with a mechanic. Do that math and tell me it's not the best money you spend on the car. And if you want to know your real number, not the manufacturer's, not the marketing's, yours, pull a sample at your normal interval and send it to a lab. $30 tells you exactly how much life your specific engine, your specific driving, leaves in your specific oil. That's the number on the back of the bottle I told you about at the start, except it's not on the bottle at all. It's in your engine, and the only way to read it is to test it. The bottle will never tell you, because the bottle isn't trying to protect your engine. It's trying to sell you the next bottle as far apart as it can. So let's put the picture together, because now the whole thing connects. The cheap oil isn't the killer the way you were taught. The expensive oil isn't the savior the way you were sold. The brand on the front of the jug is the least important variable in whether your engine sees 100,000 miles or 300,000. What actually decides it is two things the marketing keeps quiet: whether the oil matches the engine, synthetic for the hot, tight, turbocharged modern stuff, and whether you change it before the additive package dies, which is almost always sooner than they tell you. I've seen bargain oil changed every 5,000 carry an engine clean past 200,000. And I've seen the most expensive synthetic money can buy turn the inside of a low-mileage luxury engine into a sludge trap because somebody believed the long-interval promise. Same garage. Same week, sometimes. The difference was never the bottle. It was the hand that did or didn't change it. The dealer's never going to tell you to change your oil more often than they have to. There's no service interval in their playbook that ends with you spending less. But the engine doesn't read marketing. It only feels chemistry. And chemistry runs out on a schedule that has nothing to do with what's printed on the front of the jug. Buy the synthetic. Skip the blend. Don't fear the store brand if you respect it. And whatever you put in there, change it early, sample it once, and stop trusting a number that was written by the people selling you the car. The oil isn't what fails. You are, the day you believe the label over the engine.